Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob.
It sounds like to me that our conversation is almost right on spot right now. So
Yeah, it does.
God, this is a good thing we test this shit out, right?
Yeah.
just to get used to
Fucking
it.
A.
Yeah, fucking A back at you. Yeah, totally.
Right.
This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another fabulous, fun-filled episode of Sober, Not Mature. We had a little pre-show conversation here, a pre-podcast conversation. And that's a long story. I've gone through literally 5 headsets to try to get to this point, and I think I sound okay. Mike says I do.
Yeah. Well, as far as well as you can sound.
Right. Yeah. It's still me. So yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We're not expecting any miracles.
Not today, right?
Not today.
All right, so a little bit of kind of a recap from the week, and I'll get the personal stuff out of the way. And obviously, of course, Mike, you know this, but and anyone who follows us on Instagram, I posted pictures. But on Tuesday, I became a grandpa, so pretty.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. It's one of those. My saying is always. You can't punch the smile off my face, and I know what your response to that always is. So
I could try.
Yeah, I know. That's what friends are for, right?
Absolutely.
No, I mean, he's healthy. My daughter's healthy, and everyone's doing well, and they're home now. So if you do follow us on Instagram, you're probably going to see some pictures here or there. Probably a lot of them. So It is what it is. But as far as a little update for Instagram. So we have 194 followers as of the time that we're recording this. So if anyone's listening that's actually following us, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and get 6 of your friends to join so we can hit 200.
Right. Yeah. See, you know what? Even if you hate it, send it to a friend and say, "Listen to this garbage." Just right. Send it. It's kind of like
especially if you hate it.
Yeah, it's like smelling an old shoe. You got to smell this. It's horrible. It's horrible. But yeah, that would be fun. So, hey, other thing too, and I know you'll appreciate that. And I'm going to try to figure out. I'm going to try to figure out a way to explain this. Well, first of all, I don't know if does this seem weird that it's Saturday morning for anyone that actually cares, but our plan was to record these on Friday night, but I don't know. It seems weird. I don't know if because it's daylight or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, we tend not to do well in the daylight.
I know. Yeah. Well, especially you're like a freaking vampire.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we were going to record last night, but Mike got his period, so he wasn't feeling well.
I was. So I got a cork and I'm here now.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, take one for the. So we got this, and I'm not gonna say this person's name, but we got let me call it a unique follower, okay? And I'm just gonna read a couple of things here because I clicked through, and a lot of people on Mike is not on Instagram, so it's just
I am not
different version of Facebook, but they, basically pop into they'll have like a website or a link to whatever they're doing or talking about. So this person has a website. And I clicked onto it, and first of all, the person's location says on top of you, and I'm like, okay. It has a little wish list on there, but then I'm trying to think about what I can actually read on here. I'm not going to say the person's name. Videos are posted and pictures to the wall every day if you choose to describe. Apparently, jobs are offered. I don't know what a foot wank is.
What kind of jobs? Wait a minute. Slow down. You're burying the headline.
Right. Windy jobs. Windy ones. Windy jobs.
Okay.
Foot wanks. I'm not sure what a foot wank is. Apparently, there's toys. So it's like maybe she's advertising a toy store. I don't know. She makes custom content. Oh, here's the biggest part. Tips are not required but appreciated. Now,
just the tip.
Thank you. that one up for you. But yeah, so tips are not required, but they're appreciated, not appreciated. It's
Mm.
APPRICIATED.
All right, so we're dealing with a brain trust here. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. Just so you know, though, that everything that is on here is copyright by me.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's not by me. Wait, let me read. Yeah, this is not my webpage. But no,
Mhm.
that's the quality of individuals we have following us. So there we go. Yeah.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
batteries not included.
Oh, I saw nothing about batteries on there, so maybe
Mm.
it's just plug in. Who knows?
All right.
All right. So yeah, enough of my little fight. I couldn't stop laughing when I was reading that. So I'm like, I need to share this.
Well, at least we
All
know
right.
the caliber of people that are out there.
And you know what? That's fine. I mean, she's out there trying to make a living. Struggling
Hmm.
college. I don't know. Whatever
Right.
works for people. And
Nursing school.
sober is in her Instagram handle, so
That's good.
she's living a sober life.
Good.
So, last week, obviously, we got to listen to your story and talk a
Hmm.
bit about that. And I mean, you and I were texting back and forth a little bit this week, and one of the things I thought about, I mean, maybe even the next. Not that we have a plan for this, because I mean, we clearly don't, but
Clearly.
clearly, yeah. Obviously, I don't know. To me, the next obvious step would be, that first 30 days. I think is important, for anyone, who's trying to get
Hmm.
sober. Um,
Absolutely.
and that first 30 days that we got to the Keating Center, I know it was kind of a blur, and I think you said that too, trying to figure out if you
Hmm.
remember. I mean, there's certain things that I remember very well, but I mean that again, that first 30 days was just a blur for me. And
Yeah.
so I got there on, I was looking back and thinking, I think I got there on the 23rd of April. It was a Friday. And you got
Hmm.
there, I know the next week. Was it Monday or Tuesday? Do you remember?
Actually, I got there Wednesday, April 28th.
Okay, so in this case, you were 5 days late.
Hmm.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know that, we haven't talked about that yet, have we?
Mm. No, we haven't.
What the hell? I'm going to bring it up now. I've got
Please.
I've got 4 days on this motherfucker. So he was.
Yes, you do.
Well, he was out, falling on his face in a parking lot or in the driveway. I was
Hmm.
living my best sober life.
Right. Yeah, you were shaking it away in detox, and I was still falling on my face.
Right. And, actually so I went into detox on Saturday. So you figure 4 days, that would have been what, Tuesday, right? Saturday. Yeah. Or no, yeah,
Sure.
Tuesday. I think I just came to on that Monday. So I was physically supposedly sober, but I wasn't
Hmm.
yet at that point. But yeah, so I mean, I couldn't remember, like I said, when you came in, but I don't know. Do you want to talk about how you felt when you came in? Or I mean, I know I was angry, just angry as fuck. I mean, and I know you know that, but I don't know. If you want to talk about how you felt when you first walked in and how that 30 days was.
I mean, whew, I, the anger really wasn't there for me. I was broken and done, and it was, well, we all know. Well, we don't all know, but anger is just a manifestation of our fear, and my fear was fear. It wasn't anger at that point. I was scared to death, you know.
Right.
I mean, I'd been around the rooms before. I know, other than your father, you hadn't been around the rooms before. And didn't bring this up in my story last week, but I'm an atheist. My friends know I'm an atheist, and
I am. Hang on. Well, I am so glad you brought that up, because
yeah,
I thought about that this week too. So yeah, go ahead. I mean, that's awesome.
yeah, and I knew that, finding a power greater than yourself, which is the phrasing I like the best in the steps, was part of the deal. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, being an atheist. So, scared, but the willingness was there, willing to do whatever the hell they told me to do to try to get this thing. Um, My first impression walking through that gate at the Keating Center, there is a wonderful establishment, literally right on the other end of the block, called the Lido Lounge, which is not a very high end gentleman's club. The
Yeah,
joke is
we use the word gentleman lightly too when you say gentleman's club.
right, right. The joke is go to the Lido and see the C-section scars. Um, so I actually, when I left detox, they put me in a cab to take me to the Keating Center. So I'm in. It was actually a van cab. I remember this. The first of many vans in my future at that point. And yeah, so we're coming up the street, and I see the Lido Lounge, and then we make the immediate right into this industrial parking lot, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I getting into here? What is this place? Um, and because the Keating Center at the time there, the Rock was it was I don't know what the hell was it, man. It was like some old factory or something that had been converted.
Yeah, I think so, and it was some sort of industrial type of business, and
Hmm.
that's a good point when you say, I mean, pulling into it's almost like a mini industrial park, and you see
Hmm.
warehouses and some buildings and stuff. It looks like you're driving back almost into like a junkyard or something like that. I mean, there's almost no better way to put it, but yeah, when you pull in there, you're like, yeah, seriously, what the hell am I getting myself into?
Right. So yeah, fear. But yeah, walked in, and as is the case of that place, you're welcomed. The guys, the house fathers grab you up, and the residents get around you and instantly start, hey man, what do you need? What do welcome? And you can feel the love right away, even if you're not completely receptive to it.
Right.
Um, and yeah, again, coming out of a week's worth of detox and all that, go down and you get cleaned up and change clothes and get a meal, and yeah, it was it was welcoming, and I know I definitely needed that.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, talk a bit about when you walked in.
Well, that was not my experience.
Right.
So
Well, I know I
I
showed up in the daytime, so that helped.
Right. Oh, yeah. Because I got out of detox on that Friday morning, and we were in Wisconsin. So it was
Right.
my mom and my sister, and we drove out. We stopped in Indiana, and because that's where my sister lives, and still lives. And I think my mom had, I don't know if she had her car there. I can't even remember. But anyhow, so she followed us from Indiana out to Ohio. But this process there was between stopping, and then we stopped at the store because I had to get some stuff for me, all this different stuff.
Hmm.
It was a good 8, 9, 10 hours, in the
Right.
entire time. I don't know. I was being taken someplace I did not want to go, so while I was in detox, and as you know, our entire family is a runner on what are we going to do with this guy.
Hmm.
So, inadvertently found the Keating Center, which that's a whole nother story. But so yeah, we got there at, I don't know, like quarter after 10 at night.
Right.
So take that vision of what Mike just talked about and add darkness to it. And seriously, we pulled up, and I mean, nothing's open at around that area at that time. There's like a Home Depot. I mean, there's a gas station, but I mean, there's nothing open. Well, except for I'm sure the Lido
Toledo.
Lounge was open. That
Yeah.
would have been open. That would have been open. But so yeah, in pulling in there, so we get there, and they knew we were coming, and our friend Vince, was there at the
Hmm.
time. He was a house father. So we get in, and so it's me, and then obviously my mom and my sister, and he walks me through this place, and again, it's 10:30 at night. We go down into the dorms, and I mean, it's dark, and I can't see much, and again, it's Friday night. These guys have been in groups all week. They've been going to, their meetings and all this different stuff. So I mean, they're like a pack of rabid animals just bouncing around off the freaking walls. I'm
Uh-huh.
serious. They're just going crazy outside. So I get out, and first of all, as I'm walking through, I'm like, man, this looks. And I told my mom and my sister that at the time, I'm like, this looks like a homeless shelter, man. I'm like, I'm gonna get robbed here. I don't know what's gonna happen to
Mhm.
me. I'm gonna get beat up. Because here's the other thing, stepping back, and again, you know this, Mike. I had far I was narcissistic. I didn't believe I had a problem. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to quit drinking. I didn't want to be there. So all of you people, air quotes, because I hate that statement. All of you people were not me. I didn't belong there. I
Mhm.
I felt, did you lose me?
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit there, buddy.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm just gonna keep on talking. Let me take the headset out of here. Can you
Try again.
all right, let's try it.
And yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, yeah, hopefully I'm back. All right,
Yeah, there
so
you are.
okay, I may just leave that interruption in there. I don't care. It shows the quality of this
Yeah,
podcast, right? But
absolutely. We are professionals.
so yeah, I mean, I felt like I was above all this stuff. And I've
Mhm.
posted about this and I've talked about this, but I mean, I wanted to go and think about things. I wanted to go and figure out what was going on. And I mean, our mom is sitting there, she's crying, and she's just like, you have no place to go. So I agreed to stay. And at that point, a couple of guys, and it was Dominic and Josh, and you remember Josh.
Uh-huh.
Both those two guys came up to me and kind of again like basically put their arms around me, not physically, but said, hey, let's go grab your
Mhm.
stuff, let's do whatever. And I literally I agreed to stay for one day. And we all know that this thing is the one day at a time, and we only have one day. I didn't say it because of that, because I even though I knew a little bit about the program from my dad and all that stuff like that, I did not believe in that. That wasn't
Mhm.
why I said it. So they take me downstairs, because at this point, I mean, it's almost lights out, because lights out was at 11.
Right.
Like, take me down. I got my stuff. I laid, and I was down in it was C dorm, right? Downstairs. You were in,
B
or
dorm.
was it? Oh, I'm sorry, B dorm. So I was
Yep.
in B dorm downstairs, and I had my bed was the bottom of a bunk bed, and just
Uh-huh.
so everyone knows too, there's all bunk beds in there. Probably more. It was just people piled on top of each other, not literally,
Stacked
but
like cordwood.
yeah, exactly. So, but it was,
Yep.
I mean, more people they could help, the better, obviously. So I laid
Right.
there, and as I'm laying there, I didn't get undressed. I took my shoes off. I laid on top of the blankets, and laying on my right hand side, and there's the exit sign on top of the door. And I
Mhm.
remember this vividly. I sat there and I just stared at that exit sign, because I mean that's all I wanted to do was leave.
Right.
And that's how I fell asleep. And my mom had gotten me this calendar, and she's like, oh, you can, I don't know, make notes or do whatever. And I did use it for some of that. I should try to dig that out at some point. But I remember just in an angry way every single day, just fucking crossing off each day. I I was so pissed. So and I think this is uh kind of good when I'm listening to you. And I mean, as you're explaining this, I felt love, and I got a meal, and I got cleaned up, and I was just ready. And I'm like, I was not, but but and I was so angry. But it's just, I think it's
Mhm.
fun, because the two of us walked in under very different circumstances, very different
Right.
pasts, very different mindsets. And here we are almost 12 years later in the same place, which I think is a beautiful thing to talk about, and for us to be able to voice these things, because it's funny. I was in a meeting, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, here in
Mhm.
Wisconsin. And you went to the club that I go to in
Yeah.
Mequon, or I was going to. And I was sitting down, we were talking about something. I was telling, not this story, but the mindset of it. I'm like, here's the deal. I did not want to get sober. I went because I didn't know what else to do, had no place else to
Mhm.
go, but I had no desire. I didn't fit that first requirement of the 12-step program, having a desire to stop drinking. I didn't fit that.
Right.
And then when it came around to this guy that was in the discussion group, he's like, well, I think you're exaggerating on that. He goes, you had a desire. And I'm like, dude, no, I didn't. I'm
Nope.
like, I did not. And I just went through the motions for the first 9 months, and then
Mm.
the shit clicked. So I went to meetings. On the surface, I was doing all those things, but I did not, 100% did not have the desire. My goal at that time was just to kick back, cross my arms, not talk, just listen and do my 30 days or whatever it is and get the hell out of
Mm-hmm.
there. I didn't know what I was going
Mm-hmm.
to do. But man, I didn't want to be there. But and I remember the next day too. So the guy who's the director of the Keating Center, his name's Marty. Number one, wonderful guy. We've got tons of stories about him
Mm-hmm.
that are actually fun, but
Mm-hmm.
he's a good dude, obviously. Helped us immensely, and he's still a dear friend to this day. I mean,
Yep.
we love him to death. We would
Yep.
do anything for him, but the short story is that my dad had been involved in the Keating Center, and that's kind of how my family at the time found it. But all said and done, I'm like, okay, so I'm walking in there, and again, remember, I'm this narcissistic who I am. Did I pop out again?
Yeah, you're breaking up. Yep. Mm.
Let me try again.
In and out, in and out. You narcissist, egotist.
I know. And this is even though we're not like completely professional, this is irritating me, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm. You're back.
All right, wait, my back. Okay, cool. All right, so apologize everyone. I'm going to figure out this headset before next week, but so
Mhm.
I walk in there and I'm like, okay, everyone knows who I am, type of thing. I'm this big fucking deal walking in. So I didn't see Marty on Saturday, but he was there on Sunday, and we're doing one of the 50,000 things that we had to clean on a weekly basis. And Marty comes
Mhm.
walking out, and somebody pointed him out. So I introduced myself. I'm like, hey, I'm Bill. I'm the guy from Wisconsin. He's like, I know who you are. Turns around and walks away, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what? That dude's fucking rude, man. And seriously,
Mhm.
and Mike and I joke about this, that doesn't he know who I think I am, or don't they know who
Mhm.
we think we are? And that was my mindset,
Of course.
which is so ridiculous. But that goes along the lines of, so we talk about it. I read about it a lot. Everyone, if they don't, in my opinion, they should talk about it. That the alcohol use and the drug use, is but a symptom. There's all these things that are deeper. I didn't know how to think, feel, act. I was 41 years old and had no idea how to act as a human being, and
Mhm.
I had no humility in me. I had nothing. So that's what when we talk about the Keating Center as being a sober living facility, it teaches these guys and these men how to be human beings, not just how to
Mhm.
get and live sober, but how to be human beings. I didn't know,
No.
so I mean, I've got shortcomings. I've got all those different. I'm still an egotist, and
Mhm.
Mike knows that. And Mike knows that more than anyone, because we call each other on those things. And here's the cool part too, that there is, and I mean this, I'm not an all or never or always or nothing type of person, but there
Mhm.
has never been a time when Mike has said something to me that I've gotten pissed off about. When he's
Right.
given me direction. Well, first of all, we've never been in any type of a fight or argument, but when it
Never.
comes to a situation where, hey, you're acting this way, or you need to do this, or you need to change, I
Mhm.
know he's doing it to help me, not to hurt me, which is
Right.
not the same for any other person in my life. Other people
Mhm.
piss me off, probably on a regular basis, but
Right.
there's a difference there, because I trust him,
Mhm.
and I trust what you're going to say to me is in my best interest, so all those things are important, and things that I've learned. But so the atheist thing, and I would consider myself to be, I mean, I'm not a God guy. I had the same type of thing, coming in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, um I don't know what I'm going to do, because I'm not a church guy, I'm not a religious guy,
Mhm.
but I've more so understood pretty quickly that I'm agnostic, if nothing else. I believe there's something out there, but I don't know what it is.
Right.
So for years, and I know you remember this, but for years I kept telling you, you're not an atheist, you're more of an agnostic. So and I thought about this, and you explained it. I don't remember the exact wording, but maybe you do. So you, me, and Chris were at Melt, down on the
Mhm.
east side by where she was. It was your 50th birthday, I think.
Right.
And again, we were talking about something, and I said that, and you're like, no, dude, I am an atheist, and this is
Mhm.
why. So describe how you feel about that, because I think it's important. The way you described it is you don't believe in like a human power or whatever it is. You probably know far better than I do. I hope.
Yeah, right. At the moment, possibly not.
Okay.
You know, how my atheism works with AA is, I guess, the best way I can do this. No, I don't believe that I don't believe in the supernatural. I don't believe in the metaphysical. I just don't. Um, I believe in the natural and I believe in the physical. And um, there are powers greater than me. I'll jump back. Speaking of the first 30 days at the Keating Center, right? So I'm struggling with this thing. And I don't know what I'm going to do and all that good stuff. And my first moment, not even moment of clarity, but my first thoughts on how I could possibly work this. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks into this process. And, as I talked about last week, right? Music's a huge part of my life. And all those lyrics of all those songs through all those years, love, right? My first huge band was the Beatles, and to this day, when the entire room at an AA meeting is doing the Lord's Prayer, I'm reciting the lyrics to "All You Need Is Love." I still do that to this day. That was my first epiphany, was love, right? And it's not an original thought by any stretch of the means. God is love, right? Love is God. And it was the first way I could start working the program with any sort of power, for lack of a better word. Every time in the readings the word God would be there, I would substitute the word love. I talked about my granddaughter. She turned 2 when I was there at the Keating Center the first couple of weeks. And this 2-year-old little blonde, blue-eyed girl would look at me with love in her eyes, and that was a power greater than myself. And it was my jumping off point to this thing. Today, actually, when the word God is in the readings, what I do is I lower the G and add an O and just use the word good, good as opposed to bad. I try to keep this thing super, super simple. And that's what I do. Good, not bad, not the garbage that I used to live my life by before, but good things, positive things. And that's how this atheist works the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, yeah, I don't need to believe in magical things. I just need to believe in physical things. The force of good, the love in a small child's eyes towards someone that's pure. There's no reason for it. That is kind of magical in a way. It's not. It's, we can break it down to chemicals and bonding and the need for the little sucker to survive. They need to look at you with some love, otherwise they'll die. But that's okay.
Instinct.
That's all right, man. Yeah. That's cool. 12 of 12 says, man, God-given instincts. We just screwed them all up. We were ruled by them.
Well, and that's the funny thing, and Mike and I joke about this whole thing, and there's at least once, if not twice a year, because both of us still read the 24-hour book every morning, among other things, but it'll talk about atheism as far as living life in a cipher. So every year when it comes up, I usually post on Facebook. I'm like, hey, what's up, cipher boy?
That's me.
But the thing, but I don't look at it in a bad way. So it's just a matter of, I don't care, and that goes back to, again, we came in under different circumstances, different mentalities. You felt all this freaking love and this companionship, and I'm just like, fuck you, fuck everything. And I'm just this angry person. But but same thing, I mean, we know people who are true God people in AA.
Hmm.
Obviously, we know atheists, we know agnostics, we know everyone, but we're all in the same boat. And that's why I say that the same thing. We're at the same point, almost
Hmm.
12 years later, which to me is just so hugely important. People in different areas of the country, backgrounds and feelings and all that stuff. But I remember, and if I'm not mistaken, it was our buddy Dan, which he used to work for a certain fast food joint, so we called him Chicken Dan. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it was one of his groups where he said, I know he said at least one point, but he said that you don't necessarily have to believe in anything specific as far as a power greater than yourselves. He said, just know it's not you. And I
Right.
was like, you want to talk about mind blowing? I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wait, what? but but little these little things like that. And you just talked about keeping it simple. Even
Hmm.
to this day, I mean, some of these things get brought up. I'm like, really? I'm like, wait, what? So I mean, I consider myself to be. I'm not like super smart, but I'm not unintelligent. But
Hmm.
I don't. My mind doesn't always think that way. And I get
Right.
these little nuggets in me. These guys that used to do group with us, and Mike's been more involved with doing group at the Keating Center far more than I
Hmm.
am. But he and I used to sit in when I'd be out there and do groups, which was great. But all these guys that came in to teach us and show us and took their time to do these things, there are
Right.
so many bits and pieces from those times. And I know it was in the first 30 days, in the
Hmm.
first 60 days, certainly in the first 90 days that we're hearing
Hmm.
all these things, so I mean, these guys, I mean, these little pieces of information. I mean, I'm forever. I can't be anything but forever grateful, for that sort of
Hmm.
thing. So, but
Absolutely.
but yeah, that's and I did. I thought about the whole atheism thing, and I just thought it was a great point to bring up because it doesn't matter. You don't have to believe in a certain thing, and
Hmm.
I know that there's a, and just in reading all these different things and listening to these different podcasts, and I mentioned it last week, I think there's just so many people out there that are, they're curious. Am I, an alcoholic? And they're like, I don't want to use the word, but do I have a
Mm.
problem with alcohol? I'm sober curious. There's gray area drinking. There's like, ooh, I don't want to look at AA. I don't want to look at any of these things. But so a lot of this stuff that we learn, although both of us, were raised up and, taught through a 12-step program through AA, there's so many just individual life lessons, in that do and could apply to anyone, which
Absolutely.
was the other thing that was an eye opener, to me, because, so like the promises, for instance, and anytime something good happens, in one of our lives, it's usually one of us bringing this up. And
Hmm.
on it was Tuesday. Tuesday, you
Hmm.
sent me a text, and what did you say after you saw the post on Facebook from my daughter?
Right.
Of
Well,
the
the child's middle name is William,
right,
which is pretty cool. And yeah, I said, I saw the young man's middle name, promises, man, fucking promises.
right. And
Yeah.
that's something that even if you have no desire to look at a 12-step program or AA or anything like that, look up the promises, because I promise
Hmm.
you, well, I didn't mean that. I assure you that you will, if you've been sober, whether it's a day or a week or a month or anything
Hmm.
like that, you're going to see some of these things. You're like, that happened to me, or I can't wait till that happens, and all these different
Hmm.
things. So, you don't have to, I think anyone has to necessarily commit to a 12-step program. It works for us, it works for us really well,
Hmm.
but if it doesn't, there's still bits and pieces in there that people can look at, which, like I said, again, is mind blowing, to me, because I remember the first morning. It was a Saturday morning, obviously woke up and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And we walk in and the guys are like, oh yeah, come on, you got to go in here. Cause I'm being guided along. Cause I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, yeah, we're
Right.
going into meditation. I'm like, fuck me.
Right.
Cause I'm like, I'm going to have to sit on the floor with incense with my legs crossed, chanting
Hmm.
Om. But it starts off with a prayer and with this reading, and and I'm like, just, oh, because again, I just don't know I don't know that that's me. So,
Hmm.
it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But yeah, but the one thing, like you said, the one thing that you and I had in common, though, was the fear part of it. I started trying to introduce myself and make friends with people, and you were one. you were a scary looking motherfucker when you walked in. You know, I mean, so the picture that you guys see in the profile, and Mike's going to be up here next week. We'll take some pictures. He looks a little different than that. He's got this big old, you know, Santa Claus beard now. But
Ho ho ho.
So, where's the hoe? Where the hoe?
Toledo. Go ahead.
Where the hoe's at? Toledo. So, but I mean, he had like still had the shaved head, but it wasn't shaved at that point. He had the beard that he has, you know, in the profile picture. But I mean, he looked rough. Plus 2 black eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I mean, just looked filthy. Just looked like this dude, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna die. You know, so you probably don't even remember it, but I introduced myself to you right away. Because then you walked up. I remember when you went cleaned up and shaved, you walked up and I see you walk out, and I'm like, wait, is that the same? Oh, that is the badass dude he just shaved. So I remember I introduced myself to you, and then, you know, we got all these different friends. All of our friends now and there's quite a few. There's, what do we figure out? 10, 12 that are still sober from that time,
right?
Which is a miracle in and of itself. But all these guys we talk about, I mean, there's Wes, there's the 3 Joes that we know. There's all these different people. Richie, when they came in, these are hardcore looking dudes, man. And I'm like, and I'm like, well, what do you call me? You know what you call me. I mean,
would cheesehead motherfucker?
Well, cheesehead motherfucker, but you say I'm a square, L7.
Oh yeah, definely.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're a geek. You're a nerd,
right? I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. You know, so that's what he calls me. Until, you know, a lot of people think that until they hear me open my mouth. But so I'm looking at these guys and I'm like thinking, these guys are gonna freaking kill me, seriously. But but the whole point is that at least in thinking back now, I was doing something. I wasn't isolating. And all of us became friends. I mean, you know, we're still friends with some of these guys, even though we don't see them all the time.
Right.
These relationships that we made during that time frame, I don't know, they don't match anything, you know, that I've ever had in my life.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, the whole house father thing. Well, when did you become a house father? Wasn't that at 30 days?
Just about 30 days. It was actually, Memorial Day. I had night watch that night, because
which is terrible.
It is. At the time, the way that they didn't have a sprinkler system in that building, and so in order to have all these people, all these guys in there, the deal they had with the fire department was that there would be a couple of guys that stayed up all night to keep an eye on the place, fire watch, night watch, and I had it that night. And Marty at the time was still living at the facility. And about 4 a.m, he comes out of his room and comes into the kitchen and starts getting food and stuff ready, because he was going to cook for everybody for Memorial Day, right? Everybody's going to have a party. And so he's in the kitchen and I'm helping him because I'm up. And he at some point looks over at me and he goes, you know, how would you feel about becoming a house father? And of course, inside my head,
did he actually ask you?
Yeah, he did. He did. He said, how would you feel about being a house father?
That's
and of course, inside my head, I am, fuck no. Not a goddamn chance. No, thank you. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
But for, you know, what came out of my mouth, the action I took was, whatever you need, Marty. So we, you know, finished up doing whatever we were doing, and I went and laid down because I'd been up all night. And I woke up about, 10 a.m. or so, because I had to take a leak, and I'm walking down the hallway and all the guys are going, hey, congratulations. I'm like, oh God. So that was how I became a house father.
Yeah. And they, I think it was at 60 days. Yeah. It was like 60 days for me. Yeah, so Mike and I were house fathers. So just to explain that the house father thing, there's got to be guys that people can go to, you know, to help out. And, you know, you've got keys and you get this and that, and you're responsible for the donation room when people drop off donations. And basically from, you know, 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, you're on freaking call, you know?
Right.
But the thing of it is, and one of the things with Marty, and that's why I asked, you know, did he actually ask you?
Yeah.
Marty doesn't ask. I know, like, hugely out of character. He doesn't ask, especially at that point in the journey. I mean, he'll ask. Well, he doesn't. I don't think he's. I'm trying to think. The last thing I know what it was. He wanted me to do that post on for the Facebook thing, and I guess he did say, he goes, well, no, he said, I need you to do me a favor. You didn't really
Hmm.
ask me, which I
Right.
wouldn't say no anyhow,
Right.
um, but so yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where he normally wouldn't ask, and I don't think he asked me. He just said, oh yeah, by the way, you're a house father. I'm like, wait,
Hmm.
what? So, but the thing of it is that up until that point, I mean, you and I didn't start to become even friends during that house father time,
Right.
but Mike and I kept getting thrown in. I mean, literally placed together.
Hmm.
I mean, we were house fathers together. Then we were in the same 3/4 dorm, and then we moved into the 3/4 house together. We're in a room together, and then we moved in together. I mean, at that point, we developed truly a friendship. Obviously, at the 3/4 house, but
Right.
up until that point, it was just like everyone kept, like, the universe, ooh, kept throwing us together, But yeah, that the house father gig. I mean, especially you at 30 days. I remember
Mm.
you not being happy about that, and
Hmm.
so that was. But again, the thing with Marty though is every time somebody became comfortable, he would switch it up or he'd push in a different direction, which is huge.
Right.
It
Right.
used to piss me off at the time, but I understand it now because he never wanted anyone to relax, And I
Hmm.
don't mean that you couldn't sit back and go to bed or something like that, but
Right.
he didn't want somebody to get comfortable with their program. So whatever the deal was, maybe you were getting too relaxed. I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I was at 30 days in. I was getting into the routine again. It wasn't my first rodeo. I was, falling into place and doing what I was supposed to do, and was getting a little comfortable. Um, and and really, as much as I didn't want it, and the a bunch of guys, I was starting to become involved in AA, and I'd gotten a sponsor at that point and stuff, and the people that were around my sponsor, and there were a lot of them had been through the Keating Center, and the joke was, if you become a house father, you relapse.
Right.
That was, yeah. And again, a huge part of Bill and I's program is spite. It's a joke we have, but it's absolutely true. How do you get an alcoholic to do something? Tell him he can't do it. So that was, really, so Marty made me a house father, and I'm going to relapse because of that. I'll show you.
Right.
And did. Yeah, absolutely. And being a house father, it made me take that next step of becoming involved, becoming a part of something bigger than myself, which is and was and will always be a huge part of my program. I have to, again, being the atheist, I need to be a part of something bigger than me, and on a very physical and tactile level. And that pushed me in that direction. I tell a lot of times when I'm doing group, I'll tell this story. The first time some guy came walking up to me and said, "Hey man, I need some soap or I need some deodorant." I didn't care. I was selfish and self-centered, and didn't care about anybody else, which selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of our troubles, according to the big book and Bill Wilson. So hey man, I need some soap. Fuck you. I don't care what you need. What I did though is I took the action. I went and got the guy some soap, and my life got better because I didn't have to smell his stinky ass. That to me is the core of the Alcoholics Anonymous program. I don't care. I'm going to take the action. I'm going to do something for somebody else, and somehow my life gets better. And that's how this thing works for me. Always has and always will. And I learned that lesson probably at 40 days into this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's yeah, like I said, when both of us were doing that too, and it was just the relapse part, and that's an absolute fact. I remember everyone saying that to us. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, nobody at house father ever stays sober," and both of us are just like, "Fuck that, man." And yeah, because I posted about this on the Instagram page about that
Mm-hmm.
that story when we were driving to a meeting, and I was getting sick and tired of hearing about the statistics that people not staying sober, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, like, you know what? I'm going to stay sober just to spite people.
That's
And then
right.
you and I are this whole back and forth. But yeah, it's just, it's ridiculous, and they used to say in the groups, and Marty to this day says that 100% of the people that want to stay sober and put in the work and put in the action,
Hmm.
if you do what you're told, you do what's suggested of you, you will stay sober. There's no
Right.
reason, that you have to relapse. And the thing of it is, I mean, people, and I'm not getting down on people that relapse. We've got, I mean, how many friends, I mean,
Mm,
just about everyone that we know, has had at least one relapse.
right.
So I
Oh,
actually
the
give,
aforementioned Vince that welcomed you into the Keating Center has relapsed
yeah,
several times, and he's doing the work again. And actually, he just had a couple of years, and is doing it right this time. Smashed that ego finally, and
right.
is getting this thing, which is a beautiful thing. But go ahead.
No, I agree with you, and that's, yeah. Vince is an example, and we know people who have relapsed and of course not made it back. And
Hmm.
I give people who have relapsed and come back. I'm not saying that relapse does not have to be part of your journey. It just doesn't.
Right. Right.
But if it is, and you came back, my God, I give you a lot of credit because
Hmm.
I know me, and I've said this from, I don't
Hmm.
know, not day one, but and I'll say yet, and I every time I bring this up, this is
Right.
my first run at this, and you know it, but you also know I throw in that yet. I have not relapsed yet. If I don't
Hmm.
do what I'm supposed to do, if I don't, every single day, keep this whole program and keep my sobriety and do the things and do the work and do the steps and all that stuff to stay sober, I
Right.
will relapse. And I'm a firm believer that I will not come back. My
Hmm.
ego, I know myself well enough. I don't think I could face you. I don't think I
Right.
could face our family. I couldn't
Hmm.
face our friends. I'm not coming back. I'll end up drinking myself to death. And you
Right.
know what? I don't want to do that.
Right.
So, but if you've relapsed and you came back, you don't have to. Marty used to say, you don't have to live that way anymore.
Right.
You don't have to do it again.
Right.
This could be the last time you feel that way. This could be the last
Hmm.
time you start off at day one. And even say to yourself, if you want to get mad about it, fuck day one. Add on
Right.
top of it, you don't have to be there anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
that reminds me, just real quick, and I remember the first time that I changed my phone because I've got the Big Book app, which is I'm not only the Big Book but my sobriety counter, and I
Hmm.
got my new phone, and I opened everything up, and the next morning I go because I look at my sobriety app every single day because time matters to me and days matter. I look at
Hmm.
it every day. So I opened it up, and however long I've been sober, I don't know whether it was 6 months or 4 months, it doesn't matter. But that my counter said zero, and literally my whole heart dropped. I felt sick to my stomach. The only thing was I just
Mm,
hadn't signed back into the app yet.
right.
But anytime, and I've changed phones over the years quite a bit. Every time when I go back in there and I have to reset my sobriety date, it freaks me out. I'm like, I don't ever want to see that zero for real.
Hmm.
But again, I'm just going to say one more time, I'm not judging people who have relapsed. Just make it the last time, man. Because
Right.
I don't know how many people we know or people that we know that have relapsed and died. And that's a real fact, and it's crushing. It's just
Hmm.
absolutely crushing, and that person's not hurting themselves; they're hurting everyone they left behind. And
Absolutely.
like Jim used to say, the I don't want to hurt anyone anymore.
Right.
I just don't want to hurt anyone anymore. And his arms, I
Yeah.
put my arms up in the air, and because that's what he used
Absolutely.
to do. But all these little
Hmm.
things like that, that's all these things. Majority of these things started in that first 30-day period, which I thought, why I thought it'd be so important for us to talk about that sort of thing. So,
Hmm.
but yeah. So what else? What else in that first 30? We've been rambling for almost a little over 49 minutes right now.
Yep.
So what else? What else on your mind from that?
Um, the one actually I thought about this the other day. One of the things, the one day at a time is something that I learned and started practicing in that first 30 days. And there was a guy there who hope is still breathing somewhere, but I'm not holding my breath. This guy Stevo,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, he was one of the biggies in my first 30 days. He was one of the first guys I bonded with because he was crazy, man, and we used to look at each other and we would go tomorrow. That first 30 days when we're struggling, we would look at each other and we go, tomorrow, man, tomorrow we're going out. Tomorrow we're doing it all. We're getting a fifth of jack. We're scoring some crack. We're going to get some smack. We're going to do it all tomorrow. And then tomorrow would come and it would be today again. And we'd look at each other that next day and we go, tomorrow, man, we're doing it tomorrow. And that was the first putting that one day at a time into a almost physical practice of having someone with me, again, bonding with another human being, which is not my modus operandi at all. But that was in that first 30 days, and to an extent, I still do that. Tomorrow, man, tomorrow isn't yet, and I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. At this point in my sobriety, I'm fairly certain I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to say please. I'm going to do my readings. I'm going to do what I have to do to stay sober that day. But it's not guaranteed. I'm not there yet. So tomorrow, we'll see. But today, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I still put that into practice. And that was, again, that first 30 days, I started working that part of my program.
Right. Well, I mean, you and I, we say to each other all the time. I think I said it at the beginning of this. Whatever the thing is, not today.
Not today,
because that's there's so many of these little things that you and I say back and forth to each other that are like that. But yeah, that we do that all the time. Not today. So you're gonna do blah blah blah. Oh, not today.
Not today.
Who knows? Nope. Maybe tomorrow.
Today, I'm gonna be a good boy today.
Right. Yeah. That's what Artie used to tell us. Just be a good boy. All you got to do is
be a good boy.
Be a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, man. I think we've rambled on enough. So last thing, I'm trying to think of what's this great, and this is always great to do on the fly. See, I know you always love these things. So what's a cool little out thing that we can do? And I'll let you think of it. Like hey, see you next week.
You know what? And my sick mind just went, fuck off, everybody.
See you next time.
No, you know what? And seriously, don't let the door hit you in the ass. No, seriously, you know what? Stay sober today, man. Do the work today. Do what you got to do so that you can listen to us ramble again next week. You'll be around for it. More importantly, you'll be around for those people that you say you care about. Show them that you care about them, because selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles.
You better write that down because I'm going to make you do that next week.
I'll just have to listen to it because there's no way I'm going to remember.
All right, man. So yeah, everyone join us next week. Actually, who knows? Maybe we'll check in sometime this week when you're up here. But
absolutely.
For now, I think we're done. Take it easy,
I think
brother.
We're done. You too, man. Love ya.
Love you, bud.
All right. Fuck off.
Fuck off back at you. Bye.
Bye.
As always, thank you for joining us for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and feel free to message us with any suggestions for future shows.